Ulithi Atoll, Western Pacific, early 1945. A 265-foot concrete barge floats among aircraft carriers and battleships. No guns, no armor, no torpedoes, bombs, or ammunition. It carries refrigeration compressors, industrial freezers, and produces 10 gallons of ice cream every 7 minutes. $1 million in 1945 currency, equivalent to $2 million in today's money, invested in a floating ice cream factory in the middle of total war. USS Hydrogen, BRL 3071, USS Calcium, USS Antimony. Official designation, barge, refrigerated large. Length, 265 feet. Beam, 48 feet. Draft, 5 feet. Gross tonnage, 10,170 tons. Refrigerated volume, 130,000 cubic feet. Crew, 52 men. Propulsion, none. Towed by tugboats. Construction material, concrete, not steel. Wartime steel scarcity forced adaptation. McCloskey Company, Tampa, Florida. 1 ship per month. Industrial mobilization at scale. Production capacity, 10 gallons every 7 minutes. 500 gallons per shift. 5 tons daily. Storage, 2,000 gallons of finished ice cream aboard. 1,500 tons of frozen meat at 15 degrees Celsius. 500 tons of refrigerated produce. Total refrigerated capacity, approximately 130,000 cubic feet. The barge did not go to the ships. The ships came to the barge. Destroyers, frigates, minesweepers approached. Ice cream transferred by launch. At Ulithi's peak, 20,000 men served by a single vessel dedicated to dessert. June 1st, 1914. Secretary of the Navy, Josephus Daniels. General Order No. 99. Total prohibition of alcoholic beverages aboard naval vessels and within Navy establishments. Effective July 1st, 1914, 6 years before national prohibition. Eliminated the historical rum ration, discontinued formally in 1862, but informally persistent. Prohibited officer wardroom alcohol service. Prohibited introduction of spirits into any naval installation. For sailors accustomed to alcohol as morale mechanism and social lubricant, a profound deprivation. The Navy required a substitute. Mechanical refrigeration. Carl von Linde's ammonia refrigerator, commercially available by the 1890s, made shipboard ice cream production technically feasible. Cultural timing. American Prohibition, 1920-1933. Elevated ice cream from luxury to mainstream social institution. Soda fountains replaced saloons as social centers. Psychological efficacy. Ice cream carried associations with home, childhood, normalcy. Psychologically more restorative for sailors than alcohol. By World War I, every major American naval vessel larger than a destroyer equipped with ice cream making capacity. World War II, dramatic escalation. Assistant to Secretary of the Navy, James Forrestal, in report preserved in National Archives. Ice cream, in my opinion, has been the most neglected of all the important morale factors. Forrestal ordered the Navy to prioritize ice cream supply across the fleet. The ice cream barge was not accident or extravagance, it was deliberate policy. Americans believed morale sustained combat effectiveness. Material comfort, even amid combat, was legitimate military investment. Army Quartermaster Corps, 80 million gallons of ice cream annually by 1943. Dehydrated mix, 135 million pounds annually, 61,000 tons. Total armed forces consumption, approximately 80 million gallons during World War II. For perspective, the US military consumed more ice cream annually than the entire Japanese military could provide soldiers in basic calories. The ice cream barge was merely the apex, a comprehensive morale strategy reflecting American industrial capacity. Capital ships, practically all carriers, battleships, cruisers equipped with gidunk bars, the Navy term for ice cream canteens. February 1945. Army Quartermaster Corps constructed small ice cream factories near frontline positions, delivering half-pint cartons directly into foxholes, B-17 and B-29 crews, annexed ammunition cans containing ice cream mixture to rear gunner compartments. Temperatures of 40 degrees Celsius at altitude combined with engine vibration churned the mixture during bombing missions. Ice cream ready upon landing. Combat pilots making ice cream while bombing Japan. Coca-Cola, the company, dispatched representatives to Pacific war zones with explicit mandate to ensure frontline troops had access to cold beverages. By war's end, 64 bottling plants worldwide, including multiple facilities in the Pacific Theater. American supply manifests consistently included cigarettes, chocolate bars, fortified candy that exceeded total Japanese food rations for entire fleets. A single American soldier's daily ration could contain more calories than some Japanese soldiers received in a week. Not oversights or waste, deliberate policy. Japanese military doctrine emphasized spiritual superiority, willingness to endure deprivation as source of victory. Japanese peacetime ration 1930s, approximately 4,000 calories daily, rice, meat, fish, pickled vegetables. System depended entirely on uninterrupted supply lines. Japanese strategic planning systematically underestimated this vulnerability. Campaigns should be short, local supplies would be captured, supply lines would be minimal. None of these assumptions survived contact with American reality. Guadalcanal, August 1942 to February 1943. Japanese planners expected a campaign of weeks. It lasted 6 months. American naval dominance and submarine interdiction interrupted reinforcements and supplies. Total Japanese deployed 36,000, total casualties 25,000 plus, approximately 70% of force. Combat deaths 5,000 to 6,000. Deaths from starvation and disease 15,000 to 18,000, 75% of casualties. Evacuated 10,652. Survivors affected by disease, majority never returned to combat duty. Japanese records document the progression with clinical precision. November 1942, Guadalcanal War Diary records soldiers living on nothing more than water and grass. 100 soldiers dying of starvation daily. January 1943, 200 deaths daily from starvation. One Japanese officer recorded a life expectancy chart in his diary, calculating how many days malnutrition would permit survival based on body weight loss trajectories. 60% of all Japanese military deaths resulted from starvation or starvation-related disease, not combat. Approximately 4 million of 3 million dead. Killed by enemy 40%. Killed by their own logistics 60%. American supply rate £60 per soldier per day across all categories. Japanese supply rate designed £5 per soldier per day. Japanese supply rate, actual late war, less than 0. £5 per soldier per day when logistics functioned. Japanese merchant shipping sunk, 2/3 of merchant fleet by submarine action. Home islands import dependency, 31% of rice, 92% of sugar, 58% of soybeans, 45% of salt, all severed by American blockade. The contrast was not merely numerical, it was psychological. American soldiers wrote home about ice cream. Japanese soldiers wrote, when they could, about eating tree bark, grass, insects. In extreme cases, deceased comrades. Late 1943. Japanese intelligence first learned of American ice cream production through captured documents. Reaction. Staff officers dismissed reports as American propaganda. The notion that a combatant nation would allocate strategic resources to ice cream production during total war violated fundamental Japanese military doctrine. Doctrine emphasizing sacrifice, deprivation, spiritual superiority over material comfort. The reports were filed, classified as disinformation, early 1945, submarine I-47, under command of Officer Oraita, according to records. Mission: periscope photographic reconnaissance of naval base Ulithi. Ulithi, the most advanced American naval anchorage in the Pacific, 20,000 men at peak. Log entry: 0630 hours, large concrete vessel observed approximately 80 meters. No armament visible. heavy refrigeration equipment, multiple small craft conducting transfers. Classification: unknown logistics vessel. What I-47 had photographed was the ice cream barge. Japanese naval archives preserved this observation marked for intelligence analysis. Japanese intelligence interpretations struggled to explain the vessel's apparent purpose. The contradiction was too extreme. A 265-foot vessel with no defensive armament, no conventional cargo capacity, and extensive refrigeration infrastructure suggested only one possibility. The Americans had indeed built a ship whose sole function was manufacturing frozen dessert. Japanese commanders eventually confronted the logical implications. Admiral Soemu Toyoda, Commander-in-Chief of the Combined Fleet in 1945, received intelligence briefings on American ice cream production. Response recorded in staff meeting minutes: "The Americans make ice cream on ships while our sailors receive half rations." This statement represented more than mere observation. It encapsulated the fundamental asymmetry. American military doctrine provided abundance even to combat zone personnel. Japanese doctrine accepted starvation as spiritually ennobling sacrifice. One doctrine produced ice cream, the other produced cadavers by malnutrition. After the war, Japanese officers who surrendered or were captured provided detailed interrogations confirming the ice cream barge's existence. Recurring question from Japanese commanders to American officers with evident disbelief: "You had ships, only for ice cream." Commander Mochitsura Hashimoto, captain of submarine I-58, which sank USS Indianapolis, provided detailed post-war interrogations to American intelligence officers. Hashimoto's testimony confirmed that Japanese submarine captains understood American logistical dominance as encompassing luxuries Japanese forces could not imagine. Japanese military historians in post-war analysis concluded that the ice cream barge symbolized American industrial capacity in ways that carrier task forces or artillery production could not. Statement from one Japanese officer with brutal honesty: "We could not defeat a country with such abundance." The ice cream barge became visual proof that American victory was inevitable. A nation capable of manufacturing ice cream in the middle of the Pacific War, capable of allocating resources, shipping, refrigeration equipment, and human labor to the production of frozen dessert, possessed logistical capacity that transcended mere military advantage. It represented a different understanding of war itself. American supply ships across Pacific, 1945, 27 million tons of supplies annually. Japanese supply ships across Pacific, 1945, 4 million tons annually, and declining. American merchant shipping production, 1942-1945, more than 5,000 vessels. American warship replacement capacity, ability to replace all losses within 12 months by 1944-1945. Japanese replacement capability, estimated at 10-year timeline for equivalent losses by 1944. American shipyards literally outproduced Japanese capacity by orders of magnitude. While Japan struggled to construct a dozen cargo vessels, the United States launched hundreds, permitting strategic allocation of shipping for non-essential supplies, like ice cream. USS Quartz 9150, a parallel ice cream supply vessel, has well-documented post-war history. Post-war service 1945-1947, assigned to Operation Crossroads atomic bomb testing at Bikini Atoll, July 1945. Towed to Kwajalein for post-detonation study and radioactive contamination monitoring. Verified free of radioactive contamination. Decommissioning. Sold to Foss Launch and Tug Company, August 11, 1947. Transferred to Powell River Company, British Columbia, 1956. Today, permanently anchored as breakwater-protecting catalyst paper mill Log Pond. Partially submerged in Powell River, British Columbia. The ice cream barges themselves likely met similar fates, either scrapped for concrete reclamation or, like USS Quartz, repurposed as static structures. Though the physical vessels disappeared from active service, the ice cream barge's symbolic legacy endured. It became the most potent icon of American logistical and industrial dominance in World War II historiography. More evocative than production statistics or carrier replacement rates because it embodied a philosophy. American military doctrine invested in troop welfare and psychological morale as integral components of victory. 3 concrete barges, no weapons, no armor, producing 500 gallons of ice cream daily, $1 million each, towed across the Pacific by tugboats. For Japanese commanders who learned of these vessels, the ice cream barge became visual proof that American victory was inevitable. Not because ice cream wins wars, but because the nation that can produce ice cream in the middle of total war possesses something transcending military power. It possesses capacity, it possesses will, and it possesses the understanding that wars are won not only by weapons, but by the ability to sustain soldier morale through material abundance. The war was decided not primarily on battlefields, but in supply chains. The ability to provision sailors with frozen desserts thousands of miles from home became symbolic of American military power that Japanese commanders recognized as insurmountable. A floating concrete barge with no guns, no armor, producing ice cream every 7 minutes while Japanese soldiers starved on garrison islands. That was the Pacific War in one image. That was industrial dominance made visible. That was the moment Japan realized the war was lost, not when carriers burned at Midway, not when islands fell at Iwo Jima, but when submarine periscopes photographed Americans eating ice cream at Fleet Anchorage while Imperial sailors received half rations. The asymmetry was absolute. The outcome was inevitable. The ice cream barge proved it.